Dear students, welcome back to Smart Biology Tricks. Today we are going to discuss about an important topic that comes from cell biology subject. It is from Unit 5, Cell Interactions and Signal Transduction. And this is the unit content of Unit 5. So here we will be discussing about different types of junctions, gap junctions, tight junctions, adherence junctions, and chemical signaling in unicellular organisms and higher organisms, and receptors and different types of receptors and their role in signal mediation, and different types of secondary messengers also we are going to discuss. And importantly, cyclic EMP, cyclic GMP, and calcium ions, phosphatidylinositol, and phytohormones. Okay. So we'll just discuss about what is meant by cell interactions. So cell signaling, also known as cell communication or signal transduction, is a process by which cells communicate with each other to coordinate their activities and respond to their environment. So cell signaling is nothing, it is also called as biosignaling, cell communication. It is a kind of communication between the cells. In case of unicellular organisms, say for example bacteria, so bacteria in the environment, between one bacteria to another bacteria are communicating, and also the bacteria can communicate with other types of other organisms also. So similarly, in multicellular organism, cells present in our body, say for example tissues, cells present in the heart organs and brains, the different organs of our body contains many millions and millions of cells. So all the cells present in the organ system are communicating every minute or every second. In a living organism, the cells are communicating each other, so that the biosignaling happens between the cells. Because of that, metabolism, growth of the cell, cellular division, everything can be possible. So this kind of interactions between the cells are called as cell signaling or cell communication or biosignaling. In the picture you can see the three steps are mentioned. First one is reception, transduction, and response. So reception means this is the first step in the cell communication. So the star-like structure you can see, this is a kind of signaling molecule. This signaling molecule will bind on the surface of the cell. This cell might be a multicellular organism cell or might be a unicellular organism cell. Every cell on the surface, some receptors will be there. So this receptor is the starting point where the signaling molecule will come and bind. So once the binding or interaction between the signaling molecule, that is a ligand and receptor interaction happens, because of this interaction some conformational changes will happen inside the receptor that is present inside the cytoplasm area of the cell. Because of the conformational changes in the protein, some physiological changes happens that is called as transduction. Because of this interaction, ligand and receptor interaction, some physiological changes are happening, that is called as transduction. So the next step is response. Because of the transduction, some response will happen. That response might be activation of certain enzymes or activation of certain proteins, or sometimes cellular division will happen, DNA replication will happen, transcription, translation process also might be happen. Sometime the protein channels will open up so that entry and exit of certain molecules between the cells also takes place. So this kind of responses will take place inside the cell because of the cell-to-cell communication. So the cell signaling involves in the transmission of molecular signals from one cell to another. It can also occur through various mechanisms, including direct cell-to-cell contact or secretion of signaling molecules and the detection of extracellular matrix components. And here you can see the different types of cell signaling. So you can see there are three different types of cell signaling are available in multicellular organisms. First one is autocrine signaling, and second one is paracrine signaling, and third one is endocrine signaling. So first one, if you see the autocrine signaling, it is a self. So a signaling molecule will be produced by the cell and it will be utilized by the same cell. So this kind of mechanism is called as autocrine signaling mechanism. Say for example, in prokaryotic cell, certain proteins will be produced. Say for example, bacteria, it is producing a protein that is responsible for activating certain genes in the bacterial system itself. So a protein will be produced by the cell, and then it will be utilized by the cell to activate or trigger certain genes. So this kind of example is might be apt for the autocrine mechanism. Or in multicellular organism also, a protein, a specific protein, growth factor protein or cell dividing factor protein might be produced by the cell, will be utilized by the same cell. So that is an example for autocrine. In case of paracrine, here you just understand the concept. One signaling molecule will be produced by the cell. So this signaling molecule will be sent to the external factor, external environment. Might be in multicellular organism, the extracellular matrix will be there. So the signaling molecule will be secreted outside of the cell, and the recipient cell. So this cell will be a recipient cell. This cell will be the donor cell. The cell which is donating or secreting the signaling molecule will be termed as donor cells. The cell which is receiving the signaling molecule will be termed as recipient cell. So the recipient cell will receive the signaling molecule from the donor cell. Because of that recipient's reception, this recipient cell will undergo some physiological changes. So some changes will happen inside the cell. So this is the kind of mechanism. So this kind of mechanism we can take one example. Say for example, if any insect bites you, the swelling might happen. So the swelling might be sometime a larger swelling also might happen. So other than the exact point where the insect bites, the neighboring cells also get swelled because of the communication of paracrine communication. The neighboring cells are sharing the toxin, so that the neighboring cells try to destroy the toxin molecule, so that the swelling is happening. Because of the osmosis process, more amount of water molecules will be obtained by the cell, so that the swelling is happening, and then it is trying to destroy the toxic material injected by the insect, and through the increasing the pH or activating the certain enzymes. So in that way, paracrine mechanism will happen. The third mechanism, that is called endocrine mechanism. Here if you see, the signaling molecule will be produced by one particular cell, and then it will be diffused in the bloodstream, and then through the bloodstream the signaling molecule will reach almost all the part of the body, and then some actions, the action of the signaling molecule might be very in long distance it will happen. So these are the three different types of signaling mechanism that are exist in the multicellular organism and also in the unicellular organism. So the same example and the definitions it's presented in this slide. If you see the autocrine signaling is a cell produces signaling molecules that binds to the receptor on its own surface, leading to a response within the same cell. So the signaling molecule will be produced by the cell, and it will be utilized by the same cell. That is an example for autocrine signaling mechanism. This process is often associated with the regulation of cell growth and differentiation. When the cell is undergoing for the differentiation process, say for example, the callus tissue in plant system is slowly differentiated into mature cell. So in that case, this kind of autocrine signaling mechanism will happen. And also cell growth, when cell is growing in a size, so in that time also autocrine signaling mechanism will be helpful. So here another picturative presentation to understand the different types of cell communication. So you can see here autocrine signaling mechanism. A protein will be or any kind of signaling molecule. The signaling molecule might be a dust particle, or sometimes proteins or enzymes, hormones, or sometimes it is just ion particles. Dust particles might be any kind of molecule which is bringing some response, some changes inside of the cell will be considered as signaling molecule. So in this case, a cell is producing one signaling molecule and it is utilized by the same cell. So this mechanism is called as autocrine mechanism, that we know very well. And paracrine mechanism, a signaling molecule will be produced by the donor cell and it will be utilized by the recipient cell. So this kind of mechanism is called as paracrine mechanism. In endocrine mechanism, what we discussed, a cell will produce in the signaling molecule, then it will be diffused in the bloodstream, and in the distance region of the multicellular organism, this signaling molecule will travel, and some cell in different area located in different part of the body will utilize the signaling molecule through the blood vessels, through the diffusion in the blood circulation. So this is called as hormonal signaling, so endocrine signaling. So these are the three different types of signaling mechanisms are existed in the living organism. So this slide that tells you about the definition of paracrine mechanism, paracrine signaling. In paracrine signaling, cells release signaling molecules into the extracellular fluid. This keyword you just note it down, extracellular fluid, where they only affect nearby target cells. So in paracrine signaling, there might be some some short of distance only the molecule will diffuse, certain distance period on certain distance area only the molecule will diffuse, and it will its action will happen. So beyond that level the paracrine signaling mechanism will not work, so that the multicellular organism is having another kind of process that is called as endocrine signaling. In endocrine signaling, specialized cells that releases signaling molecules that are called as hormones, that is diffused into the bloodstream. Through the bloodstream, it is circulated throughout the body, and then the molecule is reaching the target cell, and the actions of the signaling molecule will happen inside the target cell. So this is the third types of mechanism, that is cell endocrine signaling mechanism. And the key components of signaling mechanism that includes two different things. One is signaling molecule and receptor. You can see here, I just enlarged the picture. You can see here, this is the signaling molecules. As I said, signaling molecule might be any kind of molecule. It might be a dust particle, it might be a ion particle, it might be a charged particles or uncharged particles, sometimes protein, sometimes carbohydrates, sometimes lipids. It might be a water molecule or water dissolving molecules, any kind of molecule which produces some changes inside the cell, that can be considered as a signaling molecule. Maybe a drug molecule, so drugs which we are consuming, that also kind of a signaling molecule. So this signaling molecule will bind on the receptors present on the cell surface. In case of multicellular organism, the outermost covering layer is nothing but it is a plasma membrane. On every plasma membrane, a receptor is present. Receptors are nothing, it is a protein molecule. So protein molecules, just like a antenna that we kept on the top of our building, to receive the signals, might be a dish antenna. Such kind of signaling receiving molecules are present in the cell surface also, that we call it as receptor. So this receptor will bind with the signaling molecule. Because of that, some changes will happen, some different molecules will be produced inside of the cell. Because of that, primary messengers and secondary messengers will be produced. So these primary and secondary messengers will on the other hand, it will produce some cytological changes inside of the cell. Those cytological changes are cytoskeleton regulating protein, it might be, or activation of cytoskeleton regulating protein, or metabolic enzyme, or transcription factors that will produce some changes. What are all the changes? Faster cellular response or slower cellular response, right? So this is the process of cell signaling that is happening inside of the cell. So far now we discussed about what is meant by cell signaling and different types of cell signaling, and how the cell signaling is happening inside the cell, that we have discussed. In our next class, we'll discuss about different types of receptors and their mechanism and their types also we will discuss. Until then, thank you for watching. Have a good day.